Right, another WLC just come in for a health check, I suppose you'd call it, but it's not very well. As you can see, the handlebars are extremely bent, been hammered out. So yes, it'll ride, yes, it will operate properly, but that handlebar's up there, that one's down there, they're both going up in the air, as opposed to if you look at those ones, they come up and drop down. They're your correct bars. Or look at the one with the sidecar, they come up and drop down, yeah? These just go straight up, which I would imagine would be quite an awkward riding position, I don't know. The forks have clearly been extremely bent before, look. They've been hammered out. Instead of putting on a press or anything, they've just beaten the crap out of them with a big sledgehammer, I would think. You physically see that one goes like that. If you look at the angle of that, yeah, that should be parallel to your fork leg. So the forks, probably a new set of front legs, they don't feel too bad. Yeah, probably a new set of front legs, because if those back legs were bent that much, they would have been smashed to pieces. The back of the frame, this tube's been repaired. Bottom tubes don't feel too bad, they have had some work, but that one is bent. Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't bolted on anywhere. The mudguard strap's rusted off, but this is completely wrong. See that round tube there? If you look at this one, it should be a casting like that goes over the top, brings that up, which is why that mudguard, that bit that's broken off, looks too high.
Yeah.
So that arches up and it's a cast piece. That isn't there at all, which is a shame. This is all wrong. That's been a bar welded in the frame, which shouldn't be there. Should be a bracket that goes on there to hold the toolbox. That lug shouldn't be there, I don't know what that was for. So the chances of the frame actually being straight are pretty slim, I think. But it will ride. You know, it's entirely up to the customer. None of this fits properly. You might be able to get it a lot better than it is, but the issue being that's a 1947 up petrol tank. That isn't WLC, but obviously it can't go down any lower because of the 47 tank. Where that should have an extension on it for your speedo light, that's just a bolt welded to the frame, and where your speedo twist knob should go, that's what holds it all on.
Okay.
The gear shifter's wrong. Well, because it's a 47 tank, the selector gate is in a straight line. On a 45 earlier, it's at an angle, the two bolts on it.
Yeah.
So this is marked up third, second neutral, but neutral second gear, third is first gear, neutral second gear, third is first gear. I don't know whether you can get a different gate for them. You might be able to, I don't know. It's clearly a 45 shifter gate, because I think all your big twins are 4-speed. Front wheel bearings have had it. Headstock bearings are loose. So that's just a matter of rebuilding. When I get the wheels out, I can have a look at the brakes. Back wheel's all nice and tight, that's good. The gearbox is going to need to come apart, unfortunately. You've got your pin here that holds your selector barrel in there. That's what it should have. Is actually, that's in the wrong way round. Should be 2 grooves on that one with a rubber oil seal on. It's been put in the wrong way round, so your 2 grooves will be at that end, and when you take that cover off, there's a grub screw that goes down and holds it to stop it coming out. So that's been put in the wrong way round. That in there has been welded, and if you look on the back of the casing, you come around the back of me, Stu, you see that in there? That's all weld. Without taking it apart, the chances of that all running true are pretty slim.
Yeah.
Because that's had some serious heat in it. It's obviously wet sump where it's been sat for so long, that's normal. but there's a lot of water in the oil as well. All your usual stuff, CT, brake pedal, that's just normal, you know, that's normal wear and tear. Front shackle bushes, that's normal wear and tear. I thought the forks were too stiff, but it was the ride control locked up, so they're bouncing up and down nicely now. Handlebar controls, all this hand clutch system's all in wrong. Horrible front brake cable, but that's neither here nor there, it'll work, you know. But all the hand clutch cable's been assembled wrong. You should adjust it down there, not up there or anything like that. But that's easy to do. Dash cluster wrong. It looks alright on the outside, but it's not right underneath. It's whether we can get that down any lower to make it fit any better. I'm sure you can by fanning around with it a bit. Wrong fuel line, but that's irrelevant. Oil tank's correct. WLC, if you want to get picky, should have cloth oil lines, but it's not a military bike, you know. So that's kind of irrelevant. Gearbox, it slips when you kick it over anyway. So that's another thing we've had to deal with before, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which would just be shimming normally. It's very unusual that big gear inside doesn't engage. It's got to be seriously worn out. So it'll just be shimming. But the foot clutch, I mean, you'd never ride that. It's just probably why that rubber thing's bent over. So that all needs freeing up and doing properly. Needs a chain, that's normal. So generally, apart from the horrible bent looking bits, it's all there. It's not, you know, it's nothing. Haven't had it running yet, but I'm sure it will do. I'll probably pinch the battery out of your bike later and put it on there and see if I can get it to run. But it's going to smoke like a pig because there's a lot of oil coming out of it. It's all little things like all of that's loose, the push is gone, that's wrong. The rear brake rod's wrong, that's been handmade.
What's your main concern about the bike?
Realistically, how bent it is. But it's a lot of work to find out if it is bent. You've got to take the whole thing apart. And I think, sure as eggs is eggs, it will be bent. But it's how badly. If you're not worried about it, it'll ride. It'll ride. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a GP bike, so they don't really handle as such. But I think by changing the handlebars, you'll make it feel a lot better. That's going to be horrible to ride like that.
Mm.
It must have exploded, that gearbox.
Really?
Yeah, so you never get hold of it like that, to weld a hole like that in the back of it. It must have just blown itself to pieces. Because you get one bit fault out, and you're going down the road at 60 mile an hour, it'll just smash it to pieces. Whether you can get new casings or not, or whether it is straight or not, I don't know till I get it on the bench and have a look. Positive.
It's got fuel in it, yeah.
Got some in it, yeah. Okay. Fuel yet?
Didn't see any.
Should have enough in there. Got a little bit in there. I feel like I've got an awful lot of compression.
Doesn't sound like it's got hardly any life at all, does it, at the moment?
No.
What's the timing like? Have you had a look at that at all?
No, I haven't looked at it at all. timing's out, but you don't know how they've timed it up. That is around about your firing mark there, but we've got to set it all up. That must be firing rear cylinder, I think. So then their gaskets are leaking. The distributor's put in completely wrong, but it shouldn't stop you. Well, let's double check that. Okay, now that screw's chewed up to shit. Turn it off, 'cause it's got no oil in it.
Okay.
But it's a runner. Green light came on, which is normally your, I don't know which way around there. Yeah, green light's generator, so probably needs the headlamp flicking on. That'll just set the relay. But that's good news. It doesn't sound too bad. Gearbox is fucked, because that was only just about turning that over. It's slipping so much on the kickstart.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear anything banging or rattling too badly. I don't want to run it for very long.
No.